You know the feeling. A book you've been meaning to read for years. You own it, you've started it. You will absolutely finish it one day. Will you? Today, we are looking at 6 of the most famous books that readers everywhere ambitiously pick up and quietly abandon. Let's begin. Widely considered one of the greatest novels ever written, Ulysses follows 3 characters over a single ordinary day in Dublin, June 16, 1904. That's the entire plot. But Joyce wasn't just telling the story. He was trying to put human consciousness itself on the page. The chaos, the distractions, the sudden memories, the strange jumps between the profound and the ridiculous. Every chapter reinvents the rules of storytelling. One is written like a newspaper, another unfolds like a hallucination, and the final chapter runs for 22,000 words with almost no punctuation at all, just one uninterrupted river of thought. More than a century later, writers are still trying to catch up. Why people don't finish it? Reading Ulysses feels like wandering through someone else's dream in a city you've never visited while missing half the cultural references. Most readers feel confused by page 50 and quietly defeated by page 200. And here's the cruelest part. The more you understand about Joyce, the more extraordinary the book becomes, meaning the full experience is only available to people who've already done an enormous amount of work to earn it. Call me Ishmael, possibly the most famous opening line in American literature. You expect an adventure story about sailors hunting a giant white whale. What you get instead is something enormous, strange, and almost impossible to classify. Part sea adventure, part Shakespearean tragedy, part philosophical fever dream. At the center of it all is Captain Ahab, one of the most terrifying characters in literature. Ahab doesn't merely hate the whale that took his leg. He believes the whale represents something deeper: fate, God, chaos, the cruelty of existence itself. And he decides that if the universe has wounded him, then he will wound the universe back. The whale stops feeling like an animal. It becomes an idea, a force, almost a god. Melville turns whale hunting into something cosmic. It's deeply American, ambitious, excessive, and brilliant. Why people don't finish it? Readers expect Jaws. Instead, they get entire chapters on whale anatomy, whale taxonomy, whale oil, and the architectural properties of blubber. Many quietly abandon ship during the infamous Cetology chapter, essentially a whale encyclopedia dropped into the middle of a novel. Melville knew everything about whales. By chapter 30, so do you. Often called the ultimate novel, War and Peace stretches across more than 1,200 pages and follows hundreds of characters through love, war, politics, family life, and Napoleonic invasion of Russia. People imagine War and Peace as non-stop military drama. In reality, large sections involve aristocrats discussing marriage, philosophy, morality, and the meaning of life in candlelit drawing rooms. And somehow, it still works. Tolstoy achieves something almost impossible. He makes enormous historical events feel like intimate and deeply human. Armies move across Europe, cities burn, history changes directions, yet the novel remains intensely focused on small human moments. Awkward conversations, romantic mistakes, wounded pride, private fears, jealousy, insecurity, and moments of hope people barely admit even to themselves. Few novels have ever balanced this level of historical scale with this much psychological realism. Why people don't finish it? The Russian naming conventions alone feel like a full-time job. Every character has formal names, nicknames, titles, and alternate names used by different people. Just as the story finds its rhythm, the novel pauses for lengthy philosophical arguments about free will and the movement of civilizations. Many readers don't quit because it gets bad, they quit because continuing starts to feel like a second career, and unlike a second career, it doesn't pay. Imagine a 1,000-page novel about addiction, depression, loneliness, entertainment, consumer culture, and competitive tennis. Now imagine that it somehow manages to be hilarious, heartbreaking, intellectually overwhelming, and emotionally devastating at the same time. For many readers, Infinite Jest does not feel like a normal novel. It feels like a complete simulation of modern anxiety. Long before smartphones, social media, and algorithmic feeds took over daily life, David Foster Wallace captured something people still struggle to describe. The overstimulation, the endless distractions, the inability to focus, the feeling of drowning in entertainment and information while starving for genuine human connection. The characters are constantly trying to escape themselves through drugs, through entertainment, through ambition, through irony, through endless consumption. And beneath all the absurd humor and intellectual chaos, the novel is surprisingly sincere. Wallace genuinely cares about these damaged, lonely people desperately searching for meaning in a culture designed to distract them from ever thinking too deeply. Then come the footnotes, nearly 400 of them. Some containing their own footnote, one hiding an entire short story inside a footnote inside the novel. Why people don't finish it? Reading it becomes a full-body athletic event. One hand holds the main text, the other flips to the endnote. You lose your place, flip back, lose it again, and gradually develop an exhaustion no other book produces. Many readers eventually realize they are no longer reading the novel, they are surviving it. A Brief History of Time. One of the most successful popular science books ever written, and the only non-fiction entry on this list which tells you something. Stephen Hawking attempted something extraordinary to explain black holes, the origin of the universe, and the nature of time itself to ordinary readers, without relying heavily on mathematics. And for large stretches of the book, he succeeds brilliantly. A Brief History of Time made an entire generation of non-scientists feel personally connected to cosmology, to the idea that the deepest questions about reality were not just for physicists, but for anyone curious enough to look up at the night sky and wonder. The early chapters feel less like a textbook and more like standing beneath that sky for the first time, realizing how enormous reality truly is. But slowly, the terrain changes. Quantum mechanics arrives, then imaginary time, then abstract cosmology, dense enough to make even physicists pause and reread sentences. At some point, many readers realize they are no longer understanding the universe. They are drowning in it. Why people don't finish it? Eventually, readers hit what you might call a cognitive event horizon, the point beyond which comprehension cannot escape. Hawking once joked that every equation in a popular science book cut sales in half. He included only one. He was probably right about the rest. Published in 1604, Don Quixote is often called the first modern novel, and once you understand why, that claim becomes hard to argue against. Before Don Quixote, many stories were built around idealized heroes and simple moral worlds. Knights were noble, villains were evil, adventures were grand, straightforward fantasies where characters often felt more like symbols than actual people. Then Cervantes did something revolutionary. He created a protagonist who was ridiculous and tragic at the same time. An aging man reads so many heroic tales about knights that he loses his grip on reality and rises into the world seeking glory, most famously attacking windmills he genuinely believes are giant monsters. His loyal squire, Sancho Panza, follows him with a mixture of affection, loyalty, and growing disbelief. On the surface, it is a comedy, but underneath the humor is something surprisingly modern and deeply human. Don Quixote is delusional yet oddly noble, absurd yet strangely inspiring. You laugh at him constantly, until slowly you begin to feel something closer to sorrow. And Cervantes achieved all of this while parodying cheesy medieval adventure stories. Why people don't finish it? The windmill scene is unforgettable. What follows is several hundred more pages of similar misadventures, clever and funny, but increasingly slow for modern readers raised on fast pacing and instant payoff. Many finish part 1 and never return for part 2, which is unfortunate because part 2 is arguably even better, but that's a secret known mostly by the finishers. Here's the truth. These books are difficult on purpose. They were not written for passive scrolling, quick entertainment, or effortless consumption. They were written by people trying to push literature, storytelling, and even human thought itself beyond their previous limit. So, if you started one of these masterpieces and quietly stopped halfway through, don't feel embarrassed. You are in very good company. Some books are not meant to be conquered quickly. Some simply wait for you to grow into them. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.